Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this very special Saturday morning end of session Senate Commerce and Labor Committee meeting. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Daley. Here. Senator Ellison. Senator Flores.
Present.
Senator Lang. Senator Rogish. Here. Senator Scheibel. Here. Senator Steinbeck. Chair Pezzina.
Present. Thank you so much. Please mark Senator Steinbeck present when he arrives, and please mark Senator Lang absent excused. With that, thank you all so much. Welcome to all of you joining us here in Carson City, as well as those in Las Vegas and those following along online. Just a few housekeeping reminders before we get started. I'm sure this seems very old hat by now, but please do remember to silence all of your electronic devices here in the committee room. Members of the public may provide testimony in various ways, all of which are listed on the agenda. You may also submit public comment in writing, either in addition to testifying or in the place of. If you wish to testify in person, please sign in at the table by the door and provide your business card to our committee secretary. When testifying, please turn the microphones on to speak and off to listen, as we do have those following along in Las Vegas as well as online. And remember to state and spell your name for the record. Anyone who'd like to receive electronic notifications of scheduled bills and access to the committee's meeting materials may do so by signing up on Nellis on the legislative website. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other exhibits. Please do not view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. With that, we are going to take the bills a little bit out of order today, so I'll share the order that we're taking the bills. We're going to start today with Assembly Bill 598, and then we're going to go to Assembly Bill 93, 204, 414, and 504. And with that, we would love to welcome Speaker Yeager up to discuss AB 598, where we'll open the hearing, and that revises provisions relating to the development of certain parcels of state land. And you may begin when you're ready. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Pezzina, Vice Chair Daley, members of the Senate Commerce and Labor Committee. I am Steve Yeager. I represent Assembly District 9 down in Southwest Las Vegas, and thank you for having me on this beautiful Saturday morning. In 2023, all of you were here then, I believe, maybe not one. But in 2023, our legislature passed Assembly Bill 528. That was landmark legislation to address the growing homelessness crisis in southern Nevada. That bipartisan bill was quickly signed into law by Governor Lombardo, creating the Campus for Hope. Campus for Hope is a $200 million public-private partnership that will transform the lives of thousands of our community's most vulnerable. The campus will provide tools and resources to people, enabling them to rebuild their lives and return to living productive and independent lives. After that bill was signed, a technical advisory committee was assembled to create the detailed plan, file an ultimately successful application with the Governor's Office of Economic Development, and find an appropriate location for this transformative campus. The state, Clark County, and the city of Las Vegas identified potential locations, and a 26-acre parcel on the state's Southern Nevada Adult Mental Health Services campus was identified as an ideal location. This campus currently offers similar services. It is centrally located, and it offers convenient access to public transportation. The state has done a phenomenal job of relocating services that currently operate on that 26-acre parcel. The new locations for those services are significantly improved for everybody, including more than 12 minors in foster care with behavioral health needs who are currently living in what can only be described as dilapidated cottages on that campus. Today, I'm introducing Assembly Bill 598 to request an exemption from state public works for these projects that will allow the city of Las Vegas to have oversight instead. There is significant precedent in our state for this type of request. This will ensure a responsible and expeditious path for these services to come online for the most vulnerable in our community. The construction of the $200 million Campus for Hope will pay prevailing wage, as is stipulated in existing law. We have secured through the money committees this session an additional $7.5 million for the construction of new purpose-built cottages for dozens of foster children with behavioral health issues. I want to underscore how important both aspects of this project are, and to help put faces to those whom we are helping. There are an estimated 8,000 people in the Southern Nevada community that are experiencing homelessness, and thousands more that are in crisis. These are kids aging out of foster care with no family to help support them. seniors being priced out of their homes, single parents who lost their only source of income, families crippled from medical debt. The Campus for Hope will provide temporary housing, case management, child care, vocational training, medical, dental, behavioral, and substance abuse counseling to help them out of homelessness. The foster children that are currently residing in the Southern Nevada Adult Mental Health Services campus are in buildings originally built in the 1960s and the 1980s. These kids deserve better. These kids and families cannot wait. Assembly Bill 598 will ensure we can quickly and responsibly bring better housing for these kids and better services for our neighbors experiencing homelessness. Chair, that concludes my remarks, and if you would allow, I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Aguero to take you through what is a pretty short bill, but he can give you the details on how that works, and then we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Madam Chair, with your permission, Jeremy Aguero, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. My role is to provide just a walk through the bill and make sure that explain how we got to where we are and what its purpose is. I do want to express thanks in particular to the Speaker for his leadership throughout this and helping us get to this point, as well as to the Majority Leader and the Senate for all the work that allowed us to get where we are today. It's been a remarkable combination of executive branch and the legislative branch coming together to make this possible. At the end of the day, the fundamental focus of this piece of legislation is to expedite the process. As the Speaker mentioned, as we went through and identified the location for the Campus for Hope project, we identified that there were some cottages where children in foster care are receiving services. The need was to relocate those because, as the Campus for Hope Foundation said from the very first day, not one shovel of dirt is going to be moved on this project until those kids have not only a better place to be, but we have greater capacity as well for them. A big part of that is the children's cottages that would be constructed on the Southern Nevada Adult Mental Health Services campus in order to expand and provide the services I think that the Speaker outlined as being necessary. Section 1 of this bill specifically exempts the project in its totality, and when I say the project in its totality, I mean both the Campus for Hope project as well as the children's cottages element of the project. Exempts it from Public Works. It does that in order to make sure that there's not a duplication of the process. The project will still be overseen in terms of its building activity by the City of Las Vegas. It does allow us to expedite the project materially. Section 2 makes it very clear, or makes it clear in the law, that the project will be a prevailing wage project. As the Speaker said, this project since day one has been a prevailing wage project. It will always be a prevailing wage project. Subsection 3 of the bill created a carve-out for that. That carve-out was designed to create an alternative for a project labor agreement, should one be negotiated, that would exempt that portion, the children's cottages, from prevailing wage. We respectfully request that this provision be amended out. And talking with the proponents as well as the other stakeholders, it's simply unnecessary. The entire purpose of this bill is to expedite this process. There's no time for additional negotiations or additional contracting. We just need to be able to move the project forward. So we respectfully request that Section 3 be amended out of the bill. I also would like to extend my personal thanks to the contractors and builders and all the folks who, even for taking the time to consider this important project and helping to make it possible. Section 4 simply provides definitions for the development, the qualified project to align with the campus.
Mr. Aguero, we only have sections 1 and 2 in front of us. Subsection, excuse me. Thank you.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Subsection 3 is the one that I'm referring to. My apologies. So the final element is simply the definitions. And so those simply align with the existing statute in NRS 231. Forgive me, Madam Chair, for the confusion between the sections and the subsections, but hopefully that clarifies, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you so much. We would love to get an amendment in our hands sooner than later with session coming to an end. So thank you so much for the explanation. And it was section 1, subsection 3, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, wonderful. So we will look for that sooner than later. And I'm guessing we may have some questions from the committee. Senator Scheibel.
Thank you so much. I understand that this is kind of like the whole point of the bill. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding that basically what you're saying is that the issue that's causing or would cause delay is the State Public Works Division. So you're trying to get this project exempted from their oversight to speed up the process?
Madam Chair, Senator, that is exactly right.
Okay. Vice Chair Daley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of questions, and I think you're absolutely right on subsection 3. It seems redundant to me. To the State Public Works part, though, nothing against the State Public Works Board. They do their work. They sometimes are a little slower than people would like, especially on some projects. I do know a few years ago, the university wanted to be out from under some of the oversight. They felt they could do it quicker, but they did leave for one thing, and it was because it's still state land. Was the State Public Works Board was still the building official, so they were the ones that had the final oversight to give a certificate of occupancy. Is that not what we're doing here? And I don't see it in the bill, but that was the only part. They said, you guys can do the planning and do all that stuff and get going. We still want to be the building official because it's still going to be state-owned, correct?
Senator Daley, Jeremy Aguero, the answer to your question is yes, it's still going to be state-owned. This will still operate under a lease with state lands, but all other provisions will be outside of that. We're talking about public works. The other piece will be state lands, and all of that will be settled as part of that lease. There will also be an effort to limit that where possible. The idea is to have a very long-term lease for the Campus for Hope project, and so hopefully it'll be something of a moot issue over a long period of time.
Understood, and I'm not trying to say anything, or I was just curious where State Public Works was. And I don't care if they're not putting it in, they don't care, if I don't care. I was just asking the question, and it's still going to be owned by that. So second question on that, so we're eliminating and I understand the expedited part of that where you have to advertise and you have to do all this stuff for the public bidding portions of it. So what is that process going to be? They're just going to do an RFP and run it through the county? There's going to be some type of selection process, I'm assuming.
Well, Senator, for the record, Jeremy Aguero, the brief answer to your question is I think that there's a real hope in terms of partnership relative to the development of the project. There's a lot of stakeholders. They're involved. They're contributing a lot to make a very expensive project feasible and meet the mission of that. So those conversations remain ongoing today, but I think when you look at the Foundation board members, MGM, WIN, Caesars, and many others that are here today, they are very thoughtful and comprehensive relative to ensuring that they build very good things, and that process is also very important to them.
Understood, and I know that there was some state money to build the Hope campus in the beginning, but if I'm understanding correctly, it's going to be a lot of donations and type of stuff to move this part of it forward. On that, so I'm assuming some of the people that are making those donations are involved in finding people there, and we've done the exclusion on several different areas of the law from the bidding. We did it on the baseball stadium actually when they did that because it was a timing thing. Couldn't get it done in time if we had to go through all those steps, and then there was a separate selection, but it was expedited through just RFP type situation. So I was just curious about those two questions. I think with the removal of Section 3, State Public Works Board can defend themselves on being the building officials. Other than that, thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you, sir.
Do we have any further questions from the committee? Okay. Thank you so much for the presentation this morning, and we'll have you take a step back. We are going to, and I was remiss in not sharing this before we got started with the meeting, because we're in our final days of session. There are other committees meeting, and we're also trying to get to the floor as much as possible to move legislation forward. We're only going to be taking 15 minutes of support, opposition, and neutral for every bill that we hear today. So again, that's 15 minutes for support, opposition, and neutral on each bill. Also, do try to keep your comments to 2 minutes or a little bit less to give as many people an opportunity to speak both in person and on the phones as possible. And with that, we are going to open up support testimony for Assembly Bill 598, and we'll start in our physical locations. Welcome.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Thomas Morley, representing Laborers Local 872 and Teamsters Local 631, Laborers Local 169, and Southern Nevada Legislature, and we're in support the minute you said prevailing wage, and we thank you for the sponsor to include such things. And I had 338 for breakfast this morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. My name is Eric Hansen. I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer for Wynn Resorts. I'm here in strong support of Senate Bill 598. This bill removes unnecessary barriers to development of the Campus for Hope project, a nonprofit-led project focused on addressing homelessness, behavioral health, and substance abuse in Southern Nevada. It also allows for the construction of specialized cottages for children with developmental and behavioral challenges. These therapeutic spaces are urgently needed, and the bill ensures they can be built efficiently and responsibly. AB 598 will help the project move forward faster with the right partners and protections in place. I respectfully urge your support. I would also like to take a moment to thank the Speaker, Majority Leader, this committee, and all the members of the legislative body that have supported the Campus for Hope project so far. I would also like to thank all of the incredible state and local jurisdiction employees for their hard work and dedication to working collaboratively to move this impactful project forward. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Jason Gray, Vice President, Government Affairs for MGM Resorts International. MGM Resorts is honored to support Assembly Bill 598, and we extend our sincerest gratitude to the Speaker for his sponsorship. MGM was equally honored in 2023 to support Assembly Bill 528, bold and innovative legislation that established an unprecedented opportunity for the public and private sectors to partner and collectively address one of the state's most acute and pressing challenges: how to effectively and compassionately address the growing rate of unhoused in ways that individuals and families sustainably reestablish self-sufficiency while protecting their dignity and well-being. Subsequently, as Speaker noted, the 2024 Southern Nevada Continuum of Care Census Report brought the severity of the challenge into stark focus. In Clark County, 8,000 people experiencing homelessness were counted on a single night in January 2024. This represents a 20% increase from the 2023 count. It's a daunting and jarring data point, but upon reflection, it's probably not one that surprises most of us. Assembly Bill 528 was a call to action, and the response has been the Campus for Hope project, an evidence-based model to provide consolidated wraparound services that address an individual's unique circumstances and needs. In the past 2 years, an incredible amount of important and hard work has been done by a broad cross-section of deeply committed public, private, and nonprofit agencies and supportive individuals to ensure this opportunity is realized. The legislation before you today will enable continuation of the substantial progress that's been made to date on the Campus for Hope project, and we respectfully urge your support. Thank you.
Chair, members of the committee, Nick Vasiliadis for the record on behalf of the Southern Nevada Building Trades Union and the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters, very much in support of this bill. The provisions of this bill will ensure that both the cottages that are being talked about today and the larger scale project as a whole at Campus for Hope will be built by locally sourced, highly skilled, highly trained workforce, and we thank the sponsor and all the proponents of the bill for bringing this forward, and we urge your support. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. We'll take 3 more in Carson City, then we'll go to Las Vegas and then the phones and see if we have more time.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Jonathan Norman with the Nevada Coalition of Legal Service Providers. We want to thank community leaders, some who have come and spoken in support today, as well as this body for working to address homelessness in Southern Nevada. We look forward to this continued collaboration. We applaud the leaders of the Campus for Hope for recognizing the needed investment in the children's mental and behavioral health cottages. I think this body has seen a lot of bills this session addressing children's mental and behavioral health, and I can't tell you, as many of you know, I was a CAP attorney representing kids in foster care, and how important these cottages are, because when kids have the appropriate level of care, they're able to step down to lower levels of care. But if we don't hit that right rung on the ladder, then kids are left hanging or jumping off, and it is really critical. And so I really want to thank the folks with the Campus for Hope, the public-private partnership with the Resort Association to make this come to fruition. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dan Musgrove. To here today on behalf of the Clark County Children's Mental Health Consortium, I'm the Vice Chair. The consortium was created by the legislature back in 2001 to really focus on the needs of children when it comes to behavioral health. And while very supportive of the Campus of Hope, we had concerns about what would happen to those programs that are being served on that campus. And frankly, due to the leadership of Speaker Yeager and the IFC, they worked really hard to make sure that those needs of those children that Mr. Norman talked about were addressed. And I want to thank them for bringing this bill to make sure that, again, we ensure those kids are taken care of because they are so important. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Paul Anderson with Boyd Gaming here in full support of the bill. We appreciate you hearing the bill, appreciate the efforts of Speaker and Majority Leader in their efforts on Campus for Hope as well, and appreciate your continued support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you don't mind sitting tight, we have a lot of people on the phone lines as well and a few down in Vegas, and I don't want them to lose their chance. So we are going to go to Vegas. Please begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair Pazina, Vice Chair Daley, and committee members. Dawn Christensen, excuse me, with the Nevada Resort Association here in support of AB 598 and the Campus for Hope project, which is really a model public-private partnership. I want to thank most of you that were here in 2023 and your support of the project at that time. We very much appreciate it, and we hope you will continue to support it by passing this bill. We also very much appreciate the speaker for continuing to champion the project, and we'd like to thank the governor and the Senate majority for their strong support. As you've heard, this bill provides a major step forward in accelerating the construction timeline and therefore allowing for the faster completion of the entire project, which includes those new facilities for the children with special needs that require a higher level of care. This is critical to ensuring that those services for those children can continue to be delivered without much disruption. We're really excited to see this project come to life as soon as possible, and that's really for the benefit of the entire community and certainly for the children that require the special needs. So on behalf of our members, we respectfully ask that you pass AB 598. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair Pazina and members of the Commerce Labor Committee. Carlos Lassane, for the record, I serve as Regional Vice President of Government Relations and Community Affairs for Caesars Entertainment. Caesars Entertainment is in full support of the Campus of Hope project and the development of the cottages, which will house children with specific behavioral needs. The most vulnerable people in our community need our help now. Passing AB 598 will enable both of these projects to come online and deliver services faster. And AB 598 enables a more efficient use of government resources as it will eliminate duplication of permitting efforts. And a huge thanks to Speaker Yeager for bringing this bill forward. I urge you to support AB 598. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, we are going to move to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone on the phone lines who'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 598? And remember, Me Too and Ditto works. Thank you.
If you would like to testify in support of AB 598, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in support of AB 598, please press star 9 now. Chair, you have no callers in support at this time.
All right, we're going to come back to Carson City.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Paul Marek from the Vegas Chamber. Chamber is in support of 598, and we appreciate the efforts today. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Aisha Goins with Black Joy Consulting on behalf of SEIU 1107, and we support this bill specifically as it relates to, we're hoping that this campus will be open to severely emotional dysfunction youth. That also is an issue, so we just looking forward to this campus opening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, I think we actually did manage to do that with a couple minutes to spare. So thank you so much, everyone. And with that, we are going to move to testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 598. I don't see anyone coming forward in our physical locations, so broadcast, we are back to you. If you could have anyone on the phone lines who'd like to testify in opposition of AB 598. Again, we do have 15 minutes. Please take the line.
If you would like to testify in opposition of AB 598, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers in opposition at this time.
We are moving to neutral. Is there anyone here who is neutral on Assembly Bill 598? Not seeing anyone coming forward. AVH, we are back to you. Is there anyone on the phone line who'd like to testify neutral on Assembly Bill 598?
If you would like to testify neutral on AB 598, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers neutral at this time.
All right. Do we have any closing statements from our sponsor?
Steve Yeager for the record. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee members. I just did want to say on the record, I'm extraordinarily grateful that we got to this point with the children's cottages. We had a very large stakeholder meeting some months ago over at the governor's office, and I thought we were at a point where we weren't going to figure this out, right, because those services are essential. It was a very spirited discussion, but after a few hours, we had a plan, and what you see in front of you is this plan, not just to do the Campus for Hope, but to make sure that those children are taken care of in facilities that we can all be proud of and at a greater capacity. So with that, Chair, committee members, I would urge your support, and thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you so much. And if you want to sit tight for us for just one moment, we are going to go ahead in the waning days of session because we managed to just have a quorum here right now. I am going to work session Assembly Bill 598, which revises provisions relating to the development of certain parcels of state land, which we just heard in Commerce and Labor, May 31st, 2025, moments ago. Do we have any questions? I'll accept a motion to, and I should say also with Section 3 amended out. Do I have a motion to amend, do pass with Section 1, subsection 3 amended out?
Motion to amend and do pass, removing subsection 3 of section 1.
Perfect. I have a motion from our vice chair. I have a second from Senator Scheibel. Do we have any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, wonderful. This motion to amend do pass. AB 598 carries. I would ask for that amendment sooner than later just so we can get this moving forward, and I thank you so much today. And I will take the floor statement. All right, and with that, we are going to go to the next item on our agenda, which is Assembly Bill 93. And I believe that is Assembly Member Hibbets. Welcome.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. I am Brian Hibbets, and I have the honor of representing Assembly District 13 in Las Vegas. I'm here to present Assembly Bill 93, which revises the definition of police officer to include school police officers, juvenile probation officers, bailiffs, deputy marshals of municipal courts for certain benefits under the Nevada Occupational Diseases Act. I would like to introduce my co-presenter, Rick McCann, and allow him to present the technical information concerning the bill with your permission, Chair. Thank you.
Morning, Chair, members of the committee and staff. For the record, my name is Rick McCann, and I'm here today representing the Nevada Association of Public Safety Officers and the Nevada Law Enforcement Coalition to support AB 93. First, I wish to thank Assemblyman Hibbets, Chair Monroe Moreno, Assemblyman De Silva, Assemblyman Urick, and Senator Doñate for their and joint sponsorships of this bill. In general, existing law, which is NRS 617.455, states that a disease of the lungs is conclusively presumed to have arisen in the course of employment of a police officer, firefighter, or arson investigator who has been employed full-time in a continuous, uninterrupted position for 2 or more years. Similarly, current law, which is NRS 617.457, states that diseases of the heart are conclusively presumed under those same circumstances to have arisen within the course and scope of one's employment. As most of you know, these workers' compensation benefits are generally referred to as heart-lung benefits. Currently, NRS 617.135, around which this AB 93 revolves, defines a police officer, quote unquote, to include approximately 36 different job descriptions to which these heart-lung benefits may apply. Section 1 of this AB 93 seeks to add a school police officer employed by the Board of Trustees of a school district, a juvenile probation officer, a bailiff or deputy marshal of a municipal court, a marshal or deputy marshal of a city or town, and any other Category 1, Category 2, or Category 3 peace officer that is defined in the NRS under Chapter 289. This makes sense. The job duties of these officers in these additional classifications often require them to be exposed to the same environments and the same elements that their brother and sister law enforcement officers are exposed to in their various lines of work. In fact, if you look at Section 1, the new subsection 13 of this bill, parole and probation officers of the Division of Parole and Probation of the State Department of Public Safety are covered for heart-lung benefits. So why not juvenile probation officers who deal with many of the same environments and conditions as adult probation officers who are covered? How does walking into an adult's home to check on your subjects or do an investigation somehow expose you to more risks than walking into that same house full of adults in order to take care of juvenile subjects? It's the same thing. They should all be part of this. Look at Section 1, subsection 1 of the bill. It covers sheriffs, deputy sheriffs, officers of the Metropolitan Police Department, or city police officers. So why not bailiff or deputy marshals or school police officers who interact and engage with the same public, carry weapons, make arrests like other police officers who are covered? Marshals and deputy marshals are city police officers who are already covered under subsection 1. They all undergo annual heart and lung exams, so why should we not be adding them to this heart-lung bill? And finally, look at Section 1, new subsection 10 of the bill. It covers police officers from the Nevada system of higher education. So again, why not school police officers who are under the control of the boards of trustees of school districts in our state? What's the difference? There is no difference. Don't get me wrong, we're not merely making an argument of, well, why not me? That's not the point. We simply offer these different job descriptions and comparisons to show you the breadth of who is currently covered. These school police officers, juvenile probation officers, marshals and deputy marshals, and CAT 1, 2, and 3 peace officers are truly in need of this heart-lung benefit like their law enforcement brethren. There's absolutely no credible reason why they should not qualify as much as the other categories currently set forth in NRS 617.135. They can suffer the same health effects, including death, as their fellow law enforcement officers for doing essentially the same jobs. It's time that they receive this benefit. For these reasons, we ask that you support AB 93. Thank you for the privilege of your time.
Chair Brian Hibbets for the record. Just for the committee's clarification as to why this bill is written the way it is. It was originally brought without subsection 21 of section 1. It was simply to identify the categories that we wanted to add. And during my research and in talking with people that have been in this building much longer than I have discovered that just about every session somebody brings a bill to add someone to this list. 1991, they added parole and probation. 93, I won't go through all of them, but 91, 93, 95, 99, I can't read that one, 2001, then a special session in 2001. 2003, 2005, 2009, you get the idea. I myself brought this bill last session. It ended up dying in the waning days of the session. However, I'm back. So the decision was made, let's add section 21 to cover all peace officers, whether they are category 1, category 2, or category 3, so that we can finally be done with this NRS and not have to look at it again. And I can tell you, with my personal experience, I spent my career as a peace officer covered by heart and lung. And what that meant on a practical level was every year I had to go and take a physical exam. I had to be checked for all sorts of different things. And in reality, I complained about it every year because it was a variation of my schedule. I didn't like it. I would rather be out on the street hunting bad guys. Instead, I had to go to the doctor and go get checked out. But it made me a healthier person. because I knew every year I was going to get checked, and if there was something wrong with me, I had to fix it. So I urge your support of this bill, and I stand for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions on this bill? Senator Ellison.
Thank you. Mr. McCann and I have been through this quite a bit through the years, but on section 1.5, and it shows fiscal year 25-26, 3,235, and then for 26-27, 8,129. Can you explain that? Is that the cost of the insurance policy, or what is that?
Brian Hibbets for the record. May I go direct? Thank you, Chair. Senator, that is the cost of that DPS will incur for the actual physical exams, the heart and lung screening exams for Capitol Police. Because they would currently, if under DPS, if you were assigned to the NHP section of DPS, you were covered by this already. But if you transfer to the Capitol Police across our courtyard here, you are no longer covered. So this bill adds them in, and as such, that creates an additional expense for the state, which is the cost of the exam itself, and that is what these appropriations are for.
Yeah, and just about every bit of the security we have in this building is either police, sheriffs, city cops, highway patrol. So we got two people from Elko here that are, one was our sheriff. So, okay, thank you very much. That's all I have, ma'am.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you both so much for presenting this morning. Mr. McCann, it's always good to see you in committee. And Assemblymember Hibbets, I think this is your first time in Senate Commerce and Labor this session. So welcome. We're keeping to our 15-15-15. We are going to welcome testimony in support of Assembly Bill 93, starting in our physical locations and then moving to the phones.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Thomas Morley, representing Laborers Local 169, Laborers Local 872, Teamsters Local 631, and the Communication Workers of America. And we always support anything that has to do with heart and lung and support of our first responders. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Pazine, members of the committee. My name is John Abel, representing the LVPPA, who represent the Las Vegas City Marshals. I want to thank Assemblymember Hibbets and Rick McCann for finally putting this to bed and getting it done properly. For that, we really support this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Harrison Porter. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Las Vegas Police Managers and Supervisors Association. We are in support of AB 93. It recognizes officers who put themselves in dangerous and tough situations to keep the community safe and gives them the protections they deserve. Please support AB 93. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Troyce, T-R-O-Y-C-E, Krumie, K-R-U-M-M-E. I am the current chairman of the Las Vegas Police Managers and Supervisors Association. We're here in support of this bill. I'd like to thank Assembly Person Hibbets for bringing this bill and potentially freeing up some time in some future sessions to not have to discuss this bill any further. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the line who'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 93?
If you would like to testify in support of AB 93, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. For the record, my name is David Ballantyne, and I serve as the Vice President of the Police Officers Association of the Clark County School District Police Department. I want to extend my gratitude on behalf of our membership and the other police agencies across the state for your time and attention to AB 93, commonly referred to as a heart and lung bill. Over the past 2 years, this bill represents a critical pursuit to secure essential heart and lung benefits for the law enforcement agencies across the state that currently lack these protections. The significance of this legislation cannot be overstated. It has the power to save the lives of our first responders. The implications of AB 93 extend well beyond CCSDPD. They affect every law enforcement agency currently denied the same advantages as their peers in other jurisdictions. We urge your support for AB 93, ensuring this is enacted into law this session. Together, we can protect those who bravely serve and safeguard our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, committee, for this opportunity to speak and your diligent service to us Nevadans. I'm Kevin Eppinger, President of the Juvenile Justice Probation Officers Association and Secretary of the Nevada Association for Public Safety Officers. In addition to these positions, I'm currently a 28-year juvenile probation officer in Clark County, Nevada. Speaking on behalf of all the juvenile probation officers, we strongly urge each and every one of you to support AB 93. Your willingness to support this bill speaks volume of your understanding of how beneficial it will be for all juvenile probation officers to have this opportunity to finally be added to this heart and lung benefit. Again, the juvenile probation officers appreciate your support for this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. This is Andrew Regenbaum, the Executive Director of the Nevada Association of Public Safety Officers. I'd like to thank Assemblyman Hibbets and Rick McCann for their hard work on this bill. And on behalf of my 1,300 law enforcement officers around the state of Nevada, I'd like to express our strong support for this bill. Thank you.
Chair, you have no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you so much. With that, we will move to any testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 93. And not seeing anyone coming to the tables, we are going to move to the phone lines. Broadcast back to you. Anyone on the phones in opposition?
If you would like to testify in opposition of AB 93, please press star 9 now. Chair, you have no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, actually, AVH will stay with you. Do you have anyone in neutral on AB 93?
If you would like to testify neutral on AB 93, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers neutral at this time.
All right. Do we have anyone in the room who'd like to testify in neutral on AB 93? I don't see anyone coming forward. Would you like to make any closing statements? Welcome back.
Brian Hibbets for the record. Thank you, Chair. I just want to say thank you very much for the time today. I know we're all very busy, and help me protect those that protect us.
Thank you so much. And with that, if you want to hang out for just a second in the room, though you don't need to sit at the table because we're going to close the hearing on AB 93, but I'm going to open a work session as we are in these waning days and we're trying to move what we can with votes right now. So do we have any questions on AB 93, which revises provisions relating to public employees, which was heard today, May 31st, 2025, in Commerce and Labor? Seeing no questions, I will accept a motion to do pass Assembly Bill 93.
So moved, Madam Chair.
I have a motion from Senator Flores, a second from our Vice Chair Daly. Do we have any further discussion on AB 93? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. And the motion carries. And I will assign the floor statement to Senator Scheibel. All right. And with that, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for the presentation. And we are going to move to the next item on our agenda, which is a hearing on Assembly Bill 204, which revises provisions relating to medical debt. And we will welcome Assemblymember Carter.
Good morning, Chair Pazina and members of the Senate Commerce and Labor Committee. I'm Max Carter from Assembly District 12, the far east side of Las Vegas and the far north side of Henderson. And I'm here today to talk about medical debt with Jonathan Norman from Legal Aid of Southern Nevada, and down south we have Peter Aldis, also with Legal Aid of Southern Nevada, to answer any technical questions that there may be. So medical debt. You know, what is it now? It's 7 in 10 Nevadans either have or know someone with medical debt. And why is medical debt differently? Nobody chooses to take on medical debt. It arises out of a tragedy, a health issue, or it's just not something that is like running up your credit card or spending above your means, buying a car that you really can't afford. This is non-voluntary debt that has become, it can be very devastating nowadays. You know, that we've all talked about in a lot of our different committees about how that housing is impacted by negative credit reports now. That used to it didn't, but now you got a negative credit rating and all of a sudden you can't even rent, let alone purchase a house. So it has major implications, and that was our goal to begin with. We had several goals, the main one being stopping reporting to credit agencies because for medical debt, and also stopping wage garnishment, because people still need to be able to live. Yes, people must pay their bills and their debts, and we're dealing with compassionate people on all sides of this issue, and there's really not sides. We look at the providers. They're members of the community too, and compassionate people, and they've been all of the stakeholders have been very, very engaged and very cooperative working with us. The bill has been drastically changed from when we started, that there are restrictions on reporting to credit agencies, but that tool is still there. That it's delayed a little bit. And that wage garnishment's off the table, but, no, actually, excuse me, got it backwards. Wage garnishment is on the table at a distant, you know, it's got time delays in it, but garnishment of your seizing bank accounts and garnishing IRS refunds and the like is off the table. So, and because the wage garnishments, it's got controls to where they can't, it can't all be seized. So what's the state we're in right now? We've got what I think is a good, workable protection for consumers, and also a formalized process that allows medical providers, hospitals, and the like to collect their debts in a reasonable manner that's compassionate. Did we get to 100% consensus? No. Does that ever happen in here? Sometimes. Maybe Senator Daley can make it happen. So there will be some opposition today, and I want to say that I believe it's in details. Details like the fact that it stops collections during a state of emergency in the state of Nevada. So, you know, we think back to COVID, and knock on wood, we won't experience 3 years of emergency again. And that's not really what we're targeting, but could people pay their debts then anyway? So there's that, and there's also the idea of the timelines. The timelines, it says 180 days before you can enact extraordinary debt collection methods. And I think there's been some misinterpretation because it's being said, well, 180 days and in 30 days. It doesn't say that. It says 180 days before you can initiate, and it says you must notify of your intention to and of what collection means you're going to use 30 days before you enact it. So at the 150-day mark, it's perfectly acceptable to send that notice. You just can't initiate the action until 180 days. And so that's basically my presentation. I believe that we've reached a good place. Not everybody's happy. I'm not happy. The stakeholders aren't happy. And isn't that the definition of a good solution, when all parties are just a little bit disgruntled? And with that, we're here to take questions.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm not happy to hear you're disgruntled, but I am happy to hear you guys came to a compromise. Do we have any questions on Assembly Bill 204? Okay. With that, I think you might have gotten off easy on the question front. We'll have you take a step back, and we are going to once again do 15, 15, 15, and we are going to start with those that would like to come in support of Assembly Bill 204. Welcome to the table.
Good morning, Chair Pazina and members of the Committee on Senate Commerce and Labor. Leah Cartwright, Leacartwright, here this morning on behalf of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Leukemia and Lymphoma Society has been engaged on this bill from the beginning. We're not disgruntled, I would say, with the outcome of the bill. We, in fact, support the bill as written currently. We did support it in its initial introduction, which, as the Assemblyman sponsor noted, was a big bite, a big swing, and we appreciate that attempt at protections. I do want to note there were, at one point, over 14 stakeholders involved in these discussions, and we were trying to come to consensus over multiple issues. Really what we need to look at and what it comes down to is there are patients who need help, and the people who provide the care need to get paid. There are so many other factors involved in this with insurance companies, with PBMs, with collections, private collections, your hospital collections department, all of these other stakeholders that became involved. And it's so complex that I would love if, excuse me, over the interim, we could do some kind of task force on medical debt to figure out what is the best way to get people care and the providers paid. And that's really as simple as it should be, and it is so much more complex. So I appreciate all the stakeholders who've weighed in this session and would love to continue those discussions further into the interim. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and Committee. My name is Erica Loveland, and I represent the Clark County Collection Services. Clark County Collection Services supports Assembly Bill 204 as it has been amended in the second reprint. And we thank the sponsor and the stakeholders for working with us and for their tireless advocacy. Thank you so much.
For the record, Brian Beeman representing the professional firefighters in Nevada. You just recently heard a bill before this, AB 93, that has protection for police and firefighters for heart and lung coverage. But a lot of the times we see, and there was a recent report that the Division of Administration, which is your appeals level for the state, just issued a report and said there was 93 claims that they looked into in a one-year period that were denied for heart and lung coverage, and it took them over 2 years on 35 of those 93 claims to adjudicate through the process. When those claims are denied, our members are out there paying those medical costs out of their own pocket. So they're not going through their insurance, they're actually out there paying it. So with this type of legislation, it would definitely help out our members that are seeing those denied claims and having to pay those costs and incurring that debt. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we had a question for the speaker from Clark County Collection. I think you mentioned maybe that you were satisfied with the second reprint, and we just noticed it's on the third reprint. Were you happy with both the second and third reprint? Yes. Thank you so much. Okay. With that, I don't see anyone else in our physical location, so we're going to move to the phone lines. Anyone who'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 204, welcome.
If you would like to testify in support of AB 204, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tara Webster, W-E-B-S-T-E-R, calling on behalf of the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada. For the sake of brevity, this bill represents just a small step toward positively reforming our healthcare system and protecting families from the life-changing impacts of medical debt. And so we urge your support on AB 204. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we will move to testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 204, and we'll start in our physical locations.
Good morning. My name is Patrick Kelly with the Nevada Hospital Association. We want to thank the bill sponsor for his collaboration throughout the session. He's right. Everybody has worked extremely hard on this bill, and we appreciate the hard work from everyone who's been involved. With that said, we have two remaining issues that we respectfully ask the sponsor and the committee to address. The first is in Section 15. It prohibits certain collection activities on medical debt during a federal, state, or local state of emergency, declaration of disaster, or public health emergency. These events can last for years. COVID-19 is a clear example. That public health emergency lasted 3 years. We would not be able to collect any debt during that time period. Healthcare providers cannot remain financially viable if they are limited from collecting debt for long periods of time. Moreover, the prohibition on certain collection activities applies if a state of emergency, declaration of disaster, or public health emergency has been declared in the patient's county of residence. So I just heard the Assemblyman talk about the fact that it only applies in Nevada, but if you look at the bill, in Section 15.3, it says in any part of the county in which the consumer resides, and then in subsection C, it talks about declarations of disaster and emergency or the laws of another state. So why would it have another state if it only applied to Nevada? I think that maybe it's a drafting error or something, but it does not just apply to Nevada. So let me give you an example. If you have someone from Ohio who visits Las Vegas, has a big night on the Strip, and incurs medical bills, the provider must verify whether a state of emergency, a declaration of disaster, or public health emergency has been declared in the patient's home county in Ohio, and keep checking it regularly. To our knowledge, no national database exists that contains this information. This requirement is both impractical and overly burdensome, and we respectfully request that sections 15.3 and 4 be deleted from the bill.
Mr. Kelly, we're over 2 minutes, and because we're doing 15, 15, 15, if there's time at the end, maybe we can come back, or if you'd like to provide all of your notes to our committee secretary, we can get them that way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. Blaine Osborne, Nevada Rural Hospital Partners, for the record. We too are not disgruntled, but here respectfully in opposition this morning. And I would just echo the comments from my colleague at Nevada Hospital Association, particularly for the rural critical access hospitals. The prohibition on collecting medical debt during any state of emergency, if it were to last a significant amount of time, would cause us the most difficulties. So with that, really appreciate your time this morning, and thank you.
Good morning, Chair Pizzini and members of the committee. My name is Jacqueline Nguyen, Nguyen, representing the Nevada State Medical Association. Honestly, I do think that there is confusion about whether it affects Nevada or the entire country and where it follows the patient. Our discussions with some stakeholders as of last night, we were under the impression that it followed the patient wherever they go in the state, in the nation. Like many stakeholders, we've worked diligently in good faith with Assembly Member Carter and Ms. Cartwright on AB 204. There have been numerous amendments and much thoughtful discussion. Unfortunately, we are in opposition. We share the concern that this bill is attempting to address the serious and often overwhelming impact of medical debt on patients. As physicians, my members are on the front lines of care. They witness firsthand the stress patients experience, not only due to their health conditions, but also due to the financial burdens. We want to be clear, we do support protecting patients from being unfairly crushed by medical debt, and we're committed to working with all stakeholders. We had several concerns with the bill, primarily that it creates a complicated system for small practices. For all medical bills, AB 204 technically creates a system where physicians and providers cannot be paid for any debt for 6 months. For some of my small practices, that's just simply untenable. Additionally, for my small practice providers, with the pause during the state of emergency, again, as you've heard, these things can last a very long time. And for my physicians who have small private practices, they work on very tight margins, and this can be untenable. We want to be part of the solution. Physicians want to heal and not harm, but our private practice physicians also need to be able to keep their doors open, pay their staff, and continuing to serve their communities. This bill treats large bills to facilities the same as the $100 bill that's owed to my private practice family doctor in the ELCO. So we believe we must find a more thoughtful path forward that upholds both patient well-being and financial stability for Nevada's physicians. But we certainly appreciate the strong relationship we've built with the Assembly member and stakeholders, and will continue to work through this. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Paul Maratkin with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is opposed to AB 204 in its current form, and we do appreciate the ongoing conversations I've been having with stakeholders and the bill sponsor and the industries. As you can see, it's reprint 3, so you know there's been a lot of efforts here trying to resolve these concerns. But the latest concerns are in Section 15 regarding the state of emergency. You heard from our industry partners, the doctors and the hospitals. Those are, we believe, very valid concerns. And we do hope there is resolution. But at the end of the day, we know healthcare is expensive. These facilities have to pay their staff, money, union workers, their rent and so forth. Their revenue has to come in to keep the healthcare system running in the state. So again, our concerns are in Section 15. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Dave Daslich, for the record, DAZLICH, here today representing the Consumer Data Industry Association. We'd first like to thank the Assembly member for the long and involved process, and certainly was very responsive to all of our concerns. And as he stated, at the end of the day, there are a few differences of opinion on the ultimate outcome of AB 204, so we wanted to get those concerns on the record. The concern that we have today is about federal preemption of state-level credit reporting under the Fair Credit Reporting Act federally, and the potential conflict with national standards essential to maintaining consistent credit markets. The FCRA includes preemption provisions to ensure a consistent national framework for credit reporting, specifically 15 U.S.C. 161, which preempts state laws that relate to the content or use of information in consumer reports. It is the opinion of CDIA's internal counsel that AB 204 in its current form creates some potential conflicts with the federal rules under the FCRA, and we wanted to get that concern on the record. We would still like to thank Assemblymember Carter for the long and involved process and his response throughout, and our opposition today is certainly respectful. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see anyone in Las Vegas coming to the table, so we're going to move to the phone lines. Broadcast, do we have anyone today who'd like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 204?
If you would like to testify in opposition of AB 204, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last three digits of 733, please press star 6 to unmute. Please continue.
Good morning, Madam Chair and the members of the committee. My name is Brian Partridge. I'm an attorney, and I'm here on behalf of the Creditors' Rights Association, or Creditors' Rights Attorney of Nevada, CRAN. We represent creditors of all kinds, and mostly I have concerns with the main concern is with Section 16, where the healthcare providers have to describe their collection activities, including all of their extraordinary collection activities, which includes things like bringing lawsuits or filing for garnishments. My concern with those things is basically that it interferes with the way judgments and courts work, and there are already protections for various kinds of debt, including medical debt in Nevada. And I think that this bill is doing a lot of good, but it's also doing, some things that if it was more focused, it would be better. It reaches into areas that aren't necessarily necessary at this moment. So we're in opposition to this bill. Thank you.
You have no more callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much, Broadcast. Do we have anyone in the room in neutral on this bill? Okay, not seeing anyone. Broadcaster, back to you. Is there anyone in neutral on AB 204?
If you would like to testify neutral on AB 204, please press star 9 now. Chair, you have no callers neutral at this time.
Thank you so much. Assembly member, would you like to make any closing statements?
Thank you, Chair Pizzina. Max Carter for the record. First off, I'd like to ask a question, and this is to your policy analyst, that we had intended to, and I would like to ask if we can take and get a small amendment, taking and making Article 3 time limit 6 months on the state of emergency, and to also eliminate on line 20 and 21, or the laws of another state. So to remove "or the laws of another state" and put a time limit of 6 months on the state of emergency. So.
I might have our legal department address that, although since it just came up, it might take a moment. Thank you, Mr. Coulomé.
Thanks, Chair. Jeff Coulomé from the Legal Division for the record. Assembly member, I think if I'm understanding you correctly, we're talking about on page 5 in subsection 3 of section 15, that paragraph C, eliminate the reference to the laws of another state. That's simple enough. And it sounds like a 6-month period that only applies to that paragraph C. Is that correct?
Jonathan Norman for the record. Yes, since the idea that that federal state of emergency could put these providers in such a bad position if it lasted 3 years, to say that there's a cap at 6 months. So it would delay the collections for this first 6 months of the state of emergency at the federal level.
Thank you. And that would not affect the existing other timelines in the other sections of the bill, correct?
Jonathan Norman for the record. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we understand that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What I'd recommend is connecting with stakeholders, getting an amendment into our hands. We're still going to be meeting behind the bar, I feel very certain, because we're also missing a committee member today, so it's a little harder for us on non-unanimous votes. So if you can get that amendment to us as soon as possible, we'll plan to meet behind the bar, and we thank you so much. Would you have any further closing? Okay. We thank you for the presentation. I think that medical debt is a huge problem to a lot of citizens here in Nevada, and definitely something we need to tackle. So I thank you for the thoughtful work that you've done on this, and I hope there's no more disgruntlement and we get that amendment shortly. Thank you so much. And with that, we'll close the hearing on Assembly Bill 204, and we will welcome the presenters for Assembly Bill 414, which revises provisions relating to occupational safety and health. Assembly Member Moore. And Mr. Morley, welcome back.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members of the committee. I am excited to be here for the third time this session in front of your committee. For the record, I'm Assembly Member Cynthia Moore, CINTHIA, and I represent Assembly District 11 in East Las Vegas. I'm here to present Assembly Bill 414, which addresses air quality issues in the workplace. Protecting Nevada workers from poor air quality is essential for occupational health and safety, especially in industries like manufacturing. When workers are exposed to greenhouse gases, other gases, and poor air quality, it can impair cognitive function, coordination, and decision-making, leading to lower efficiency and increased error rates. So, now I'm going to walk you through the bill. Section 2 defines a large hybrid environment facility as any facility in which employees work, including a distribution center or convention center that is at least 10,000 square feet, and employees are exposed to outdoor elements for a majority of each shift worked through open loading docks or bay doors. Section 3 and 5 require an employer who has 15 employees or more who work at a large hybrid environment facility and who is required to establish a written safety plan to include mitigation measures for the occupational exposure to greenhouse gases, other gases, and poor air quality. Section 3 requires the plan to establish a system to mitigate exposure to greenhouse gases, other gases, and poor air quality in accordance with occupational safety and health standards, and monitor employees for signs of health effects resulting from exposure to certain air quality issues. In addition, the plan must require any vehicle that is loading or unloading at the facility to have the engine turned off, except for certain refrigerated vehicles or trailers. Further, a designated person at the facility, not less than every 4 hours when employees are working, must monitor and record certain air quality information in any area of the facility where employees are working, in a logbook, which must be kept at the facility and be available for review upon request. Finally, on any day when the level of greenhouse gases, other gases, or air quality exceeds the level set forth in any applicable occupational safety and health standard, additional fans or other forced ventilation systems must be used to increase the airflow out of the facility through open loading docks or bay doors. With that, I'd like to turn it over to my co-presenter, Tom Worley, but I want to remind you that this bill's about protecting workers and ensuring that they're working in a safe environment. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Thomas Morley, representing Teamsters Local 631. We discovered that in the industry and past legislative sessions, there was some regulatory issues that came up with heat and exposure and things of that nature. OSHA and some of the partners addressed these issues last session and during the interim in regards to heat exposure and things of that nature. But one of the things that did get skipped, and I would have gladly participated in those conversations had I had the client that I do now, and was made aware of the issues within the warehouse, manufacturing, and convention centers that had arisen. We've had numerous reports and incidents in light manufacturing industry, as well as convention space and warehousing, where due to constant exposure to the four biggest hazardous greenhouse gases, those being methane, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and fluorocarbons. These exposures cause nausea, dizziness, fainting. We've got folks in IATSE as well as the IBEW that are up in person lifts. I won't call them man lifts anymore because that's just not acceptable. We have journeymen and we have journey persons. But you can't afford dizziness, nausea, and feeling faint when you're 30 feet up in the air, dropping power lines and things of that nature, rigging for concert events as well as convention centers. This isn't a union, non-union bill. This is for these industries and every worker that are in these industries. I would imagine that long-term exposure has its own effects, but I do not have any statistical data to prove that. But your body can only take so much. I've had an organ failure issue, and it wasn't due to long-term exposure to hazardous gases, but it takes its toll on the body, and when your body's filter gives out, it's out. Like I said, this isn't to create work stoppages or anything like that. If an area inside one of these facilities is discovered to be hot, we cross-ventilate it, we check it, we can move those employees to another area temporarily until that area has been judged safe by somebody who's been trained on this equipment. And that's all I've got for right now. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I know that Chair Pizzina, you're involved in the convention center industry. Assemblyman Carter echoed some sentiments in the assembly because he was involved in the industry with convention center and warehousing. I believe Senator Ellison, you had exposure issue with CO2 in your basement at your home a few years back. It was? Okay. But in that, I'll close. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them or concerns.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. Do we have any questions from the committee? Senator Steinbeck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Of course, air quality is vital. I mean, if you're not breathing the right air, then nothing else matters. My question is why, is the problem right now that there's gaps in the regulation, or is the problem that the regulations are not being enforced?
Assemblymember Cynthia Moore for the record. My understanding from conversations with OSHA is that there's currently nothing protecting folks from air quality, whether it's outdoor or indoor. So that's why we have this bill on indoor air quality, and our colleague here has one addressing outdoor air quality.
Agreed. Follow-up, please. And so the outdoor air quality one that I voted for yesterday was referring that over to regulation, and the reason for that is there's so many different variables. Is that something that you've considered?
Assemblymember Moore for the record. I was involved very heavily last session with Senator Flores on Senate Bill 427, which addressed the extreme heat part and also the poor air quality piece. Unfortunately, that bill did not make it through the legislative process, and I was also involved for a few months through the regulatory piece with OSHA. One of the things when you go through the regs with OSHA is it's not really open to the public. There's not a lot of input. So we're trying to make sure that we are protecting workers as much as we can, as well as going through the regs made it so folks were left unprotected for a longer period of time.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I was curious, were there any conversations with the LVCVA or the RSCVA or anyone running some of the convention centers in the state?
Local 631. I did extend any questions and or issues to the Las Vegas Convention Center Authority through their lobbyists. They did not testify for or against or neutral when we were in the assembly, and they have not reached back out to me since if their concerns have arisen. There will be opponents to this bill that will complain and or make statements that this will have a financial impact on small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and large businesses. But can you really put a price on human life? Thank you.
Thank you. And as a follow-up, I was curious if you had, I guess, any statistics in regards to those that have suffered from poor health, or who maybe you mentioned condors earlier, who maybe fell off a condor or had to, and I'm just curious. Thank you.
I can only state from my client that I represent Teamsters Local 631. I'm sorry, Thomas Morley for the record, representing Teamsters 631. Incident reports to OSHA, and that was 31 in 2024. But I cannot report anything on behalf of IATSE and or IBEW.
Okay, do we have any further questions from the committee? I'm sad that Senator Flores had to step out because, as you mentioned, he had the outdoor SB 260, which he worked closely with OSHA on, that we passed. I guess to follow up on Senator Steinbeck's question, were there conversations with OSHA in regards to any of the indoor regulations potentially?
Assemblymember Moore for the record. When I first put in the BDR for this bill, I did contact OSHA, and we also worked closely with them. I know it's not a many committee, but we did work with them with their fiscal note as well.
And did they have any recommendations regarding regulations or what may be appropriate for indoor air quality emissions?
Assemblymember Moore, for the record, they did. They suggested that we define what the greenhouses gases were, and that is what we worked with. They made a couple of suggestions that were incorporated into the bill.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't see any further questions from the committee. So with that, thank you so much for the presentation today. And we'll have you take a step back, and we will, again, for 15-15-15, we're going to welcome those in support of Assembly Bill 414. Welcome to the table.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Susie Martinez. I am the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Nevada State AFL-CIO. And on behalf of 150,000 members and 120 unions, we are in full support of this bill. I'll tell you just a little short story. I was out doing some of my affiliate outreach, and I was out with the Teamsters, and I actually happened to go out to the loading dock, and just talking with them about some of our upcoming events. And one of the cars was idling, and I was only there for about like 5-10 minutes, and I will honestly tell you, I got nauseous. I started feeling a little dizzy. And that's when I said I cannot even imagine what these poor workers have to go through when they're doing this for 8 hours. I was only there for 10 minutes. So that is why I feel that it is very important, and we are in full support of this bill. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I will say I noticed and I appreciated this Assembly member and Mr. Morley and Ms. Martinez mentioning this in Section 3, subsection 2B, where it requires any vehicle which is loading or unloading at the facility to have the engine of the vehicle turned off. Because as you said, that is a challenge, and I work on convention center floors a good deal of my life. On that note, thank you so much for your testimony. Mr. McCann.
Morning, Madam Chair. Excuse me, members of the committee and staff. Rick McCann, representing Teamsters Locals 14 and 986. In the interest of time, ditto.
Thank you so much. I don't see anyone coming forward in Las Vegas, so we're going to move to the phone lines. Broadcast, we'd like to welcome anyone who'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 414.
If you would like to testify in support of AB 414, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair Pazina and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Liz Becker on behalf of the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada, and I'm calling in today to enthusiastically support Assembly Bill 414. Employers have a responsibility to monitor indoor air quality, communicate risk clearly, and implement protections when conditions become hazardous. Timely action and proactive communication can prevent illness and create a stronger culture of safety in our workplaces. And after hearing Ms. Martinez's comments, I would like to also say that I worked at the Las Vegas Convention Center during COVID when it was a vaccine site, and we also had that same issue of people idling their vehicles, and several of our people became nauseous because of that smell. So I would say this is a very important bill. Thank you for bringing it to Assemblywoman Cynthia Moore, and we urge your support on AB 414. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
If you recently just joined us, we are currently in support of AB 414. If you would like to testify in support, please press star 9 now. Chair, you have no more callers in support at this time.
Okay, thank you so much, AVH team, always hard at work. And we are going to move to testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 414. We'll start in our physical locations and then move to the phones.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Paul Maratkin with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is opposed to AB 414 for several reasons. If you look at Section 2 of the bill regarding the hybrid facility definition and the size, 10,000 square feet is not a very large facility. So we are concerned about the impact it would have on our smaller businesses in terms of warehouses, convention centers. We're also concerned about the subsection C regarding the designation of the facility about every 4 hours. We're concerned about also subsection 2 about the recording level of the greenhouse gases and so forth. But we're also concerned that as this bill has been amended, it is only, as we read, it's only on the private sector. So if this is a public health concern, we do question from our interpretation why the public sector employees have been removed out of the bill. And there are some other exemption categories as well. And I just want to clarify on the record on 2 positions, if I can, Madam Chair, very quickly. The Chamber has worked with Senator Flores on SB 260. The business community has removed its opposition to that bill because we understand the concerns that were about outdoor fires and so forth. So we are coming to the table resolving a larger bills that are broad-based for the community. And regarding the heat regulations that are adopted, those are very comprehensive. As many of you know, Nevada has its own OSHA office. The regulatory process is very robust. Not every single state has an OSHA office. 22 states do. We have one. So the regulatory process in Nevada is very expansive and robust, and we do take that seriously from the business community side. So overall, we understand the concerns of why the bill was brought forward, but because of the burdensome nature, the expansive mandates would be put on, on employers, the Chamber is opposed to AB 414. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I'm Paul Eno, CEO of the Nevada Trucking Association, here today in opposition to AB 414. We do think that this statute is very prescriptive in terms of the monitoring, in terms of the compliance, that it doesn't take into account the broad diversity of entities that are going to be impacted. And when we do look back at what we did with the heat illness regulations and the job hazard analysis using that tool, we do think that is a tremendously better way to make sure that we are protecting our workers in the various kind of positions and tasks that they're doing. In terms of the fairness of this, it's not just the public sector that's exempted from this. It's also folks in trash or towing. So it's kind of interesting that we're trying to prioritize the health of some people, but not of everybody. So there are some disparate impacts of this. If this is a priority, it should be a priority for every worker. In terms of truck idling, I understand that's an issue. And we have truck idling laws in the state of Nevada with fines ranging from $500 to $10,000 for subsequent violations. We do think that truck idling is sometimes needed to protect the health of the truck driver, in terms of heat illness mitigation and those other things. Truckers can't always go and get outside the truck and go into a facility. There are different rules depending on where they're going. So for those reasons, we are in opposition to AB 414. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. For the record, Trey Abney, representing small business job creators of NFIB Nevada. In the interest of time, I will associate myself with the comments that came before. Certainly concerned about how this will impact small businesses, and know that the regulatory process through OSHA is much more comprehensive than 2-minute comments that we can give here at this table. And so everybody gets to play a role and be involved in that and have much more extensive conversations. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Chair Pizzina, members of the committee. Gabrielle McGregor, MC, GR, EGOR from the Ferraro Group, appearing today on behalf of the Nevada Resort Association. Although we don't believe AB 414 is targeted at our members, the bill is a serious concern because it does pull us in. Not only do several of our members have convention spaces that would be pulled into this bill, but since the bill doesn't provide a clear definition of facility beyond the square footage and outdoor exposure, we believe this could pull in other parts of the property, such as the valet areas or even the pool areas. The equipment and manpower it would take to do air quality monitoring in all of these locations would be very expensive for our members. We also have concerns with employee safety measures being put directly into statute. If there truly is a safety concern for employees, OSHA does have the ability to promulgate regulations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're at 10 minutes right now, and I do want to see if there's anyone on the phone line. Did you have a question, Senator Ellison? Yes, I did, if I could. Okay, if you can, and we will not include this in, of course, the 15 minutes.
Thank you. And listen to some of the testimony, and I can understand where the sponsor is coming from the bill, but 90% of the places with high ceiling, inside the buildings, they use battery-operated lifts, not gas-operated lifts. And those that have bucket trucks that are out there working close to entrances, they got kill switches. When they get up in the air, they're supposed to hit the kill switch, and that way there's no gases running. So there's issues on there that can be done within the facilities to keep people safe. But you can't keep everybody. But you get into convention centers, which I've done a lot of. You get up high. That gas is going up and out. It's not going to stay in there. But so I thank you for your comments, because you can't stop everything. But if somebody pulls up in a driveway for a few minutes, that gas is going to be there for a few minutes and out. But you get lifts in high places. Them lifts are up 90% of the time are battery operated. They're not gas operated. Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to have you sit tight for me. I just want to move to the phone lines because we're at about 10 minutes. We did pause the time for Senator Ellison's question, but I do want to make sure that we're also getting to people who've decided to join us by phone. I will remind everyone before we start the time up again, please ditto or me too is okay, and we're going to go to the phones broadcast. Anyone in opposition of Assembly Bill 414?
If you would like to testify in opposition of AB 414, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Carrie Kramer here on behalf of NAOP, and we too would like to echo the previous individuals testifying in opposition and their sentiments, and we are also in opposition of the bill. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Emily Osterberg. I'm here representing the Henderson Chamber of Commerce and over 2,000 members. We also are calling in to express our opposition to AB 414. Thank you.
Chair, you have no more callers on the line at this time.
Thank you so much. We're going to come back to Carson City, and you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Terry Graves, representing the Nevada Manufacturing Association. To the extent that manufacturing also uses trucking and warehousing, we are in concert with Mr. Eno's testimony and concerns with the bill, and we stand opposed to 414. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. Joe Hill with the Retail Association of Nevada. We would also like to echo the previous comments made in opposition. Thank you.
Okay, I believe we also gained someone in Las Vegas, so please begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Carlos Lassane for the record, Vice President of Government Relations and Community Affairs for Caesars Entertainment. We strongly oppose Assembly Bill 414 as written. The legislative requirements would apply to both indoor and outdoor spaces of a large hybrid environment facility because carbon dioxide, a major greenhouse gas, is everywhere. For us, this means the bill would apply to our 17 Nevada properties encompassing over 30 million square feet and impacting over 28,000 employees. The requirement to log air quality data for 4 hours across multiple facility zones would create a massive documentation and data retention burden that is not practical. Furthermore, the complexities of installing and maintaining monitoring devices, alarms, data loggers, and forced air ventilation would require significant investment. Even if the bill were limited to outdoor spaces, this would encompass significant areas including pools, outdoor dining, day clubs, entertainment venues, loading docks, valets, grounds, bars, and attractions, each with their own set of challenges. Additionally, the language lacks clarity around specific health factors and does not align with established OSHA frameworks, such as the 8-hour time-weighted average for exposure limits. There are serious equity and ADA concerns with the aspects of the language. The legislation also conflicts with the recently adopted heat illness regulations. There are significant issues with the legislation. The requirements as written would be nearly impossible to meet and would expose organizations to significant risk. The language is overly broad, open for too much interpretation and lacking clear guidance. It's also uncertain what workplace problem the bill is attempting to solve, or would it have any effect. We do not believe this legislation is in the best interest of the state. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Lassane. I don't see anyone else in our physical locations, and we've already gone to the phones. So we're going to close testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 414, and I think we did it within maybe about 13 minutes, so time to spare. Did you have a question?
I have a follow-up question for our presenters.
We'll do it after neutral, absolutely. Okay, so we'll welcome any testimony in neutral of Assembly Bill 414. I don't see anyone coming to the table, so AVH, do we have anyone on the phone lines? And thank you again for your patience with us this morning for AB 414.
If you would like to testify in neutral on AB 414, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, your public line is open and working. You have no additional callers at this time.
Thank you so much, and we will welcome both Mr. Morley as well as Assembly Member Moore back to the table. And I believe we did have, before you do your closing, a follow-up question, and then we'll let you finish it on the closing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you both again. Yeah, my question was both with some of the support and the opposition that we heard. I mean, as I understand it, the number one issue that we're talking about is vehicle exhaust and products of combustion from that. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, may I go direct? Yes, Senator. that is what we're trying to address.
And so in those products of combustion, the number one concern is carbon monoxide.
That's correct, sir.
Yeah, and so OSHA does have some pretty stringent indoor, worker protections for carbon monoxide. One of the people mentioned it. It's the 8-hour exposure limit at 50 parts per million, and there's another limit of 100 parts per million, which requires you to immediately remove your workforce from that area. And so I'm just curious as to, are those not being enforced, or what is the issue?
That data, may I go direct, ma'am? Senator, that data is not being collected. It's obviously not working because we are having people within the industry call OSHA, make reports, or having been treated for illnesses or feeling poorly due to the exposure. In the convention center industry, and I'm not pointing fingers at just that industry, but they do work the most amount of hours. A lot of times when you're loading in or loading out, it's 12 to 14-hour days, so you're exposed to those harmful gases for longer periods of time, and that 8 hours is not being abided by. And I hope that answers your question.
It does. So it sounds like it's an enforcement and a monitoring issue that we're trying to address, and not necessarily a lack of any regulation.
That's correct, Senator.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And
Would
Madam
you like to
Chair-
make any closing statements?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to address Mr. Ellison's statements in regards to the air quality within an enclosed building. With cross ventilation on, at ground level, let's say 3-4 feet, your readings are going to be different here with those monitoring devices than they will be up above. And you did bring up the fact that there's a lot of work that happens up above with lifts and things of that nature. You've got your IATSE folks, you've got your IBEW folks, but those gases travel up and they get captured in the ceiling areas. And if there's not positive airflow and cross ventilation, then those folks are going to be suffering from more exposure than what is necessary. And that's why we put in cross ventilation and circulation fans into the language to address up above. So, thank you.
Assembly Member Moore, for the record, I'd like to address some of the issues that were brought up. I wanted to remind this body that the extreme heat protections and regulations that were adopted at the end of last year and went into effect April 1st did not just happen overnight. These are the same folks that originally were against the heat regulations when it was first brought up. They were able to kill those regulations. That's why we worked with Senator Flores to bring a bill forward, SB 427, last session to address those issues. When this was going through the regs the first time, the extreme heat stuff, they said this is something that should not be addressed during regulations. It should go to the legislature. We brought a bill. They made the same argument. This should go to the regs. Eventually, when that bill didn't make it, it did go to the regs. And finally, they were forced to work with OSHA to come up with something, with a solution. Now, the business assessment that they're saying it's robust, they're only required to do it once. There's no requirement for them to revise it every few years. And as we know, Nevada is the home to the two fastest warming cities, Las Vegas and Reno. And we have seen people die from extreme heat. This is just another way to stall progress, to protect workers. These are folks that have never worked in these conditions. They're here in their suits. They're not out there working day in and day out. This bill is simply to protect workers. Now, they said, oh, this is for the private sector. As we know, Nevada doesn't have money right now. We worked to remove the fiscal notes, and that's why we had to exempt state agencies. Does that mean also that we don't care about state employees? We do care. But we also realize that the state doesn't have money, and that is something that I will bring forward to close that loophole eventually. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for being here today and for presenting Assembly Bill 414. Just as a reminder, we are going to likely do a behind the bar at a later time. And depending on whether or not any more bills somehow get referred this late in session, we may also have another meeting. But at the moment, we are going to move on to Assembly Bill 504. This is a Committee on Judiciary bill which establishes certain deceptive trade practices relating to the sale of or an offer to sell certain hemp products. And we'll welcome Assembly Member Dahlia to the table.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair Pazina, Vice Chair Daly, esteemed members of the Senate Commerce and Labor Committee. For the record, Assembly Member Joe Dahlia, Joedalia, here to present Assembly Bill 504 on behalf of Speaker Yeager. I am the lone presenter here today, but I do have a few phone of friends, including Jimmy Hum from the CCB, and I think Mike from the Attorney General's office, Mike Morton from the Attorney General's office, I believe Chelsea Capurro from the Cannabis Association. This bill is about deceptive trade practices in the cannabis industry and protecting consumers and our tourism industry. The starting point for this bill is that since 2019, there has been a 1,500-foot setback around the gaming and resorts corridors where cannabis dispensaries are not permitted to operate. While our legal cannabis industry respects that setback, certain predatory actors have taken advantage of it by operating hemp shops that intentionally mislead consumers into thinking they're offering the real deal in terms of intoxicating hemp or CBD. This is a significant problem around both the Strip and Fremont Street. Many of these shops put on a convincing performance to appear like a dispensary, including by presenting hemp leaves in their windows, selling hemp buds that appear and smell indistinguishable from cannabis. They also sell gummies, cartridges, and other products whose packages show smiling faces eating and vaping their contents. Not only are these products highly unlikely to result in an enjoyable experience for a consumer, they're also unlikely to have been tested for safety. They could contain synthetic marijuana, pesticides, or other harmful ingredients. This bill addresses that problem in two ways. First, by requiring signage clarifying the nature of the business, namely that they are not a dispensary, and the nature of the products, again, namely that they do not contain intoxicating volumes of THC. Second, this bill clarifies that certain misleading statements about the nature of the business or its hemp products will constitute deceptive trade practices under state law. As to enforcement mechanics, in the absence of statutory clarity, there might be overlapping jurisdiction between the CCB and the AG's office. In our second reprint, we've solved for that by clarifying that the CCB will handle the investigatory arm, and then they will refer to the Attorney General's office for the execution of fines. With those clear swim lanes, both groups are able to leverage existing resources and carry out the provisions of this bill without confusion and without a fiscal impact. With that, I stand open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Do we have any questions from the committee? So my understanding of this bill essentially is for those who do not hold a cannabis license, they need to display that on their door if they have a hemp product that is consumable and that the product contains less than the legal THC limit. Is that correct? Is that basically the bill?
Joe Dahlia, for the record, yes, that's
okay.
the bill.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions. So with that, we will have you take a step back from the table. Thank you so much for being here today. And so far, your phone of friends have remained unscathed. All right, with that, we'll welcome testimony in support of Assembly Bill 504 to the tables.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Chelsea Capurro here on behalf of the Nevada Cannabis Association. We want to thank the sponsor for bringing this bill. This is obviously a huge issue that the industry is facing. Just to give a little background, the 2018 Farm Bill changed the legal status of cannabis, and cannabis containing less than 0.3% of THC is considered hemp. But the issue is that is measured on dry weight. So when you start concentrating the product, that THC level increases. Without clear limits on THC, weight-based metrics still allows heavier items such as drinks, edibles, etc. to contain potent amounts of THC, which are intoxicating. So, we've seen these pop-up dispensaries all over the place. It's a huge problem. This is a really small step to try and help curb some of this, but at least if we can get, some clear signage and clarity that this is not cannabis, we do think that this is a small step in the right direction. Thanks.
Good morning. Harrison Bond, HARRISON, representing Deep Roots Harvest. Will echo the concerns, and I just want to mention that clearing up that consumer confusion can really help drive people to licensed cannabis establishments, and want to emphasize that there's so much testing that we provide for consumers to understand that what we're giving them actually, produces the desired effect. So we thank the sponsor for bringing this. We agree it's a small step, but it's a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Dan Musgrove with Strategies 360 here on behalf of Thrive Cannabis Marketplace. This is a great bill. It's a consumer protection bill, and we hope you support it.
Thank you so much. AVH, we are going to head to you. Do we have anyone on the phone lines in support of Assembly Bill 504?
Chair, your public line is open and working, but you have no callers at this time.
Okay, thank you so much. With that, we will move to testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 504. I don't see anyone coming forward, which means AVH, we are coming right back to you. Do we have anyone who'd like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 504?
Chair, you currently have no callers at this time.
All right, neutral. Yep, I'm looking at you too. Thank you so much and welcome to the table.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. James Hum, Executive Director, Cannabis Compliance Board. Just to echo Assemblymember Dahlia's statement, worked very closely with the Attorney General's office as well as him and the Speaker on this, and can confirm there's no fiscal impact. So we are neutral on the bill again, but confident that we will be able to enforce it again with the staff that we have. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Brazina, members of the committee. Mike Morton with the Attorney General's office. Echo the comments of the Cannabis Compliance Board. We are neutral to the policy of the bill, but as the bill is written, we are confident that we can enforce the provisions of the bill under our consumer protection statutes, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the line who'd like to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 504?
Thank you, Chair. Your public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Would you like to make any closing statements? And we'd also like to thank Senator Rogish, who I believe also, she brought a hemp bill earlier this session, and it was toward the last moment, but I believe she had a part in this bill as well. So we also thank her for her work on this bill as well. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 504, and we will plan to work session Assembly Bill 504, which establishes certain deceptive trade practices relating to the sale of or an offer to sell certain hemp products. It was just heard today on May 31st, 2025 in Commerce and Labor. And with that, are there any questions on the bill? Seeing no questions, I'll accept a motion to do pass AB 504.
So move. Motion so moved.
Okay,
Sorry, Skip,
we
I'm
will
doing
give
it.
the first to Senator Rogish. Do we have a second? We'll give the second to Senator Steinbeck, who was going to get beaten out for that motion. Is there any further discussion? Senator Rogish.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank everyone for bringing this language. It provides the authority to tackle deceptive trade practices and in the intoxicating hemp market. And it's a terrific step that not only protects consumers, but it also makes it a safer marketplace and reinforces the integrity within the industry. And I do want to say tomorrow is an anniversary date for our family, which was the loss of our daughter 13 years ago. So thank you for picking up the language and bringing it.
Thank you so much, Senator, for that statement, and we'll all be thinking of you and your family. Not seeing any further discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. And the motion carries, and not surprisingly, the floor statement is going to go to Senator Rogish. With that, we are going to move to the final piece of business today, which is public comment, and we would welcome anyone who would like to testify, not necessarily on any of the bills that were heard today, however, something that's germane to commerce and labor. We would love to hear from you. I don't see anyone coming forward in our physical locations. However, it's not too late for someone to join us. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the line who'd like to make public comment regarding commerce and labor?
Chair, your public line is open and working, but you have no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. As you heard, we don't know if we're getting any more bills referred. I said a goodbye to everyone, and then 10 bills were referred. So it's a moving target, but if we don't meet again, I'd like to say a huge thank you, not only to the committee, but to the staff who make this run so smoothly every day. Thank you so much. From the policy advisor and legal staff to our committee manager, our committee secretaries, IT team, to the phenomenal broadcast team, security, to my legislative aide, Cameron, who gets me moving every day in the right direction. Thank you to all of the committee members who've worked just so incredibly hard all session long. And when I said, guess what, 10 more bills referred, read through the bills, were prepared for meetings, and have just been a pleasure and a joy to work with all sessions. So if we don't meet again in person, thank you so much, but you can count on a behind the bar. And with that, we are adjourned.